The truth is, before we really factor anything, we should be looking for a greatest common factor, okay? So that's actually always going to be the first step in what we do, okay? So when we write steps out like this, we should always, even before we make an X chart, we should look out to take out a greatest common factor, okay? Now when we're doing this, we're looking at both the coefficients and we're looking at the variable of X, okay? And to see if these have anything in common. Right, so this first term has two x's, the second term has one x, and this last term, C term, doesn't have any. Right, so they don't have any x's in common. Right, however, they do have some factors in common with the 6 and the -2 and the -8. Right, so if I look at the factors of 6, I have 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. Okay, if I look at the factors of 2, that's just 1 times 2. And the factors of 8 are going to be 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. Okay? So each of these have one of these in common, right? They have this 2 in common. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide each of these terms by this greatest common factor here. Okay? And here's how we're going to write this out. Okay? We're going to write this out just like this. Okay? I know that I took a 2 out. Okay? And I'm going to rewrite basically what I have left over. Right, so I know that 6 divided by 2 gives me 3, so it's going to be 3x squared. Okay, -2 divided by 2 is just going to be a -1, so it's -1x. Okay, and then I have -8 divided by 2 is going to give me -4. Okay, so this is like my new math problem now. All right, this 2 on the outside that's being multiplied by the entire thing, I can just kind of forget about it for now. Okay, but now I can identify my a, b, and c. Right, so my a equals 3. It's right here. My b equals -1, and my c is -4. Okay, now at this time I can go ahead and make my X chart again. Okay, so my X chart here, remember, we need two numbers that multiply to a times c, so these numbers need to multiply to -12, but also add to our b term of -1. Okay, so again, I can write out all my factors of 12, or all the ways I can get -12. Okay, we should hopefully be getting pretty good at this point. Okay, I think I have my winner here, 3 and -4. Right, so 3 and -4 would be my numbers. Right, so step 3 was write out your numbers. Okay, that's now going to be again 3 and -4. So 3 and -4. Okay, then we divide by our a value. Okay, our a value here is 3, so I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3. I then reduce my fractions. Okay, so I'm just going to write reduce, and so I get down 1 over 1, and -4 over 3 cannot reduce. And this part 6 now is going to be my bottoms up. All right, so now this is where we're going to take that denominator up, and it becomes the coefficient to x in our factor. Okay, so again, I'm going to write my parentheses just like this. I know this is a 1, a positive 1, so I get now positive x plus 1. Okay, and on my other one here, I'm going to get, it looks like 3x minus 4. Okay, so here's the important part. I can't forget that 2 that I took out originally. Okay, so I still have to write that 2 right here in a parentheses, and then I have my x plus 1. Okay, and then I have my 3x minus 4. Okay, now this is my final answer here. All right, now again, we can always check with FOIL. Now here's my advice when we FOIL, okay, is that we put the 2 out here first and we leave it, and now we're in parentheses just going to put everything else with the binomial factors here. So I'll FOIL x times 3x is 3x squared. Okay, my outsides here will be a -4x. Okay, my insides here will be a positive 3x. And then last times last here will give us a -4. Okay, I'm even going to do a little bit more simplifying here. Okay, this is going to give me now 3x squared minus x, and then -4. Okay, and now I'm going to distribute that 2. So that'll give me 6x squared minus 2x minus 8. Right, and I know that I factored this correctly because that's what I originally started with. Okay, let's look at one more example here where maybe I don't write the steps out. Okay, so again, the first thing I'm going to do is look for my common factors. Okay, and so I'll say, okay, well, I have 6 and 9 and 27. Okay, so again, we'll go ahead and maybe write out the factors of these coefficients. It doesn't look like all the terms have an x in common, so I got, again, 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. For 9, I would have 1 times 9 and 3 times 3. And then 27, I got 1 times 27 and 9 times 3, or 3 times 9. So we can see that this 3 here is the greatest common factor, right? So I'm going to divide each of these terms by our greatest common factor, but when I write this out, I'm going to write this as 3 of parentheses, and then what's left over when we take out the 3, right? So 6 divided by 3 is going to be 2, so I now have 2x squared, right? 9 divided by 3 is 3, so it's going to be a plus 3x. And then negative 27 divided by 3 is going to give us a negative 9, right? Okay, so now at this point, I can go ahead and identify A, B, and C. So my A here is 2, my B is 3, and my C is negative 9. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and make my X chart. Okay, I'm looking for two numbers that will multiply to negative 18, but add to 3. Okay, this will be, again, I'm not going to show the work for this one, but you can write out your factors of 18, right? So this should be 6 and negative 3 here. Okay, so again, I'm not going to write out the steps for you this time. This is going to be 6 and negative 3, right? I'm just going to write out those numbers. Then I'm going to divide by my A value of 2. Okay, I'll reduce my fractions. Okay, and now at this point, I'm going to bottoms up, right? So now I'll bring this up, and I have now 1x plus 3. And over here, I've got now 2x minus 3. Okay, and so remember, when I write this out, I'm going to write that 3 that I took out originally, that greatest common factor, and then I'll write my factors of x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. Okay, now this is going to be my final answer, and now I can just go ahead and check this. Remember, I'm going to leave this 3 for a second and then just FOIL the two binomials. So x times 2x is 2x squared. The outsides will give me negative 3x. The insides will give me a positive 6x. And last times last will give us a negative 9. Okay, now I can distribute that 3 throughout. Well, maybe I'll combine like terms here first. This is 2x squared plus 3x minus 9. And then now I'll distribute the 3 to get 6x squared plus 9x minus 27. Okay? Again, I hope these examples are helpful. In the next videos, we're going to look at actually solving equations again.